In this video, I'll be taking you through CAPTCHA, which is a room on TryHackMe. So let's get started. So can you bypass the login form? So I already have our machine up and running. Let's see the general information. So we have here secure solar coders. We developed so you don't have to. So let's see. Secure Solar Coders has once again developed a web application. They were tired of hackers enumerating and exploiting their previous login form. They thought a web application firewall was too overkill and unnecessary, so they decided their own rate limiter and modified their code slightly. So it says before we start, download the required files by pressing the download task files button. So that should be this one here. So when you click this, it will download a zipped file to your downloads directory. So yeah, then you unzip it, and when you unzip it, you'll find these two files, these two text files. So let me just show you what is inside this one. It's loading. Let me also click that one. Okay, so this is the one for usernames, and as you can see, it has some names here. So we'll use these names to brute force. We'll use these names to try to brute force the login page. So then this one here has the passwords. So similarly, we'll use this in combination with the usernames to try and brute force. So okay, that is that. So now that we have the usernames.txt and the passwords.txt, before we proceed further, I'll just show you the results of our nmap scan, which I did. And don't worry about the IP address because I had to restart the machine. So we just did use the default script scanning, service enumeration, host discovery, then tag A uppercase for an aggressive scan. So we found that there's port 80 web server being hosted on the machine. So I'll just go into that. I'll grab the IP address. Then let me paste it right there. And let's check it out. So okay, it has loaded. We have this login interface, this simple login interface. But before we continue on that trajectory, I'll also show you the results of our GoBuster scan, which we did using the directory mode, specified the IP address. Again, don't worry about the IP address being different because I started the machine. I restarted the machine, I mean. Then used the directory list for busting directories. So we found these two directories, but this home directed to the login. So we definitely only have the login directory. So yeah, so with this, I checked to see if I could use Hydra to brute force the login page, but as you can see here, it came out with the results as though all passwords and all usernames were okay, like as if they were all correct. So from that I realized that there was a problem because that can't be. So what I did was to try out different usernames and passwords. So when you try login, let's put some random information there. So when you try logging in like that, it should, yeah, it yells at us and says user does not exist. So from this you can see that it first checks for the user. So with that in mind, we can first check for the user, then we'll check for the password, but that later, much more on that later. So with that, trying that way, my machine is hanging. Okay, if you try this, try accounts, let's say, I don't know if the machine will allow, but if we try these accounts for, I think, 10 times, yeah, for more than 10 times, let me just do it real quick. I want to do it for more than 10 times, then you'll see it introduces a CAPTCHA that we have to solve so that we continue, and that is for typically used for to ensure that robots don't brute force. So that would be such as us, so you don't brute force this login page. As you seen in this page, it said here that they introduced their own rate limiter. That rate limiter limits at 10 attempts. So on the 10th attempt, I think it should output a CAPTCHA. So I don't know how close we are, but let me just go on. I need you to see the CAPTCHA being outputted. So we should be close. Okay, so this is now the rate limit at work. Too many bad login attempts. CAPTCHA enabled. So you see here we have to solve this CAPTCHA so that we continue with the trying. So I guess that's why the Hydra could not brute force this login page, because Hydra, I don't think it has a workaround on solving CAPTCHAs when it gets it. Something to do with rate limiting. I don't know if it has, but I don't think so. That's why it kept on outputting as though all the results were correct, because it couldn't solve this. So from this, let me try and view the page's source here. Let me see. So yeah, so we have this. So this is how the page looks like. So from this, we had to write a script that goes through, takes the usernames, takes the passwords, iterates over each of them while attempting to log in. But when it finds the CAPTCHA, it solves it, then sends the answer to the CAPTCHA, then continues with the iteration over and over again until it finds the username. So that had been a custom script written. So for that, I looked around. Did my research online, and I found out that there's a particular script that I found, but I had to make a few tweaks on it so that it could suit my needs. But basically, this is it. So I have it right here. So I'll just open it. So yeah, so this is the script. So I'll just take you through this script here real quick. So yeah, we have these modules that we're importing: request, some color for coloring the outputs to show if there's a success or an error. Then you have time module to check for delays, not to check for, but to implement delays in between when you are doing the request. Then you have agpass just for command line inputting the URL. I'll show you that. Then importing OS so that we can check if we have the files. So here we have this, which checks for the URL. Then we have the headers, which again just takes the URL. You know this from how when you do a post request, it takes the header, the data, then yeah, then there's a third argument. Yeah, but that's that. Then this bit checks for the file path, checks if there's a checks for the files if they're there. So as you can see here, it checks if there's a the username file, or you know, this checks if yeah, if they're in the machine, if they're in the directory. If not, it outputs this particular error here. So that's that. Then we come to username enumeration, because you see, you saw at the login page, it checks for the username and it keeps yelling back at us and saying this user doesn't exist. So here we use the reading file method. So we read username, we iterate over the usernames, then take that, and the data that is supposed to be passed as a post request is the username, and this default password, which is just a dummy password that we use. Remember, at this point we are still enumerating for the username, so you can just use this particular password for each and every enumeration. So yeah, here we construct the response, we pass the URL, then the headers, then the data. So at this particular point, now this is the kind of the juicy part of it. So these iterations will be happening, but remember at the 10th let me say request, it will tell that this is a bot. So it will send a CAPTCHA to be solved, so that we can continue with our enumeration, username enumeration. So for that, from what I showed you here, the page source, you can see this is how it appears, the CAPTCHA bit of it. So from our script, we needed to grab that area where it shows the where it introduces the CAPTCHA. So let me just explain that much better to you. So if there's a CAPTCHA, so remember we are doing iterations. So if it finds a CAPTCHA in the HTML content, this entire page, so we're checking if we find a CAPTCHA. So if it finds the CAPTCHA, we call this solve CAPTCHA function, which will pass the HTML content and the CAPTCHA signature, which is this. So let me just take you to the point where we have the function for solving the CAPTCHA, and that should be down here. So for solving the CAPTCHA, we need to know the position of that particular bit of the CAPTCHA and the where the equal sign is. So let me just take you back here for better understanding. So what we are grabbing is this. Remember, we're trying to solve the CAPTCHA, so we'll be grabbing the position of this and the position of this, so that what we remain with is this bit, so that we solve this bit. So we'll grab the index of this in this entire file, then grab this where this character is relatively from this the index of this here. So then we remain with this expression, which is the CAPTCHA. So let me take it back. So here it will find the CAPTCHA signature, which is just this whole line here, this whole line. Then it will add it to the entire number of this string. So we'll perform you'll use this length function. So that will be denoted as the starting point. So that will be denoted as the starting point. Then we'll now find the end where it ends, but using this as the starting point. So at this particular point, now we are now grabbing the CAPTCHA. So the CAPTCHA will be everything in between the start and the end. I don't know if that makes any sense, but when you read the flow, you'll just understand it. It's nothing complicated. So the CAPTCHA will be between the start here, as you can see, and the end here. And we just do dot strip to strip any extra spaces. Then we take the CAPTCHA and pass it into eval. Eval is an inbuilt Python method for solving expressions which are inside a string. So yeah, we'll solve that. Then that would be outputted in the form of strings, which will now split. And when we split them, they'll be in a list. So being in a list, they'll be in a list with each particular string. So let me show you. So assuming we've solved this 431 minus 79, this plus the answer. So assume this question mark is the answer. This plus the answer will be all in a list after passing the split. So now we'll use, after passing the split with the empty spaces, each will be as a string on its own. Then we'll index a -1 to grab the last index, the character which is at the last index, which will be this answer. So I told you to assume this was an answer, so this will be the answer. So from that, where are we? So from that will now be the CAPTCHA answer. So let's go back to where we were. So we were here, then now yeah, we'll grab the CAPTCHA answer. So we now send it with the headers and the URL. Then if the password is invalid, we have the output, then that. Then no, okay, we were here. No, we were here in user enumeration. Okay. So yeah, that will be sent. Then we'll check for if the username is valid or not. Then we'll delay here. Then we'll continue that way until we find the correct username. So when you find the username, the same way, we'll do the same process for brute forcing the password. So yeah, that's just the gist of it. But if you go through the code, you'll understand it. It's nothing complicated. So this is the main script of how everything works. Grabs the URL, then checks for user enumeration. Then if you find the username, we go ahead and do brute force for the username that we found. Then we'll have the results. So where is it? So here, if it's a valid password, it will output this valid password for the username. Then it say use these credentials to log in and retrieve the flag. So I'll leave a link to this script. After this video, I'll upload it. I'll push it to my GitHub so that you can access it. Then maybe you can do a little tweaks here and there to suit your needs, but that's just the gist of it. So what I'll do, I'll show you how we run this script. So escape, then let's write and quit. So we'll run the script using Python. So I'll just do Python 3. And by the way, you can do, let me show you. You can do -h for help. So okay, it's taking time. So yeah, you have them. So yeah, the options, you can do help. Then to run it, you'll include the URL. So we'll just do that, clean terminal. Then I'll just do Python 3, then -u. Then for the URL, we'll just grab this because this is the URL to our login page. So I'll copy that, Control Shift V. So we have that. Then I'll run the script. So as you can see, it's iterating over each and every username as the script first was checking for the usernames. So to see which username actually works for the login. So it will first check for the usernames. Then after checking for the username, it will go ahead and brute force for the password using the passwords.txt file that you are given. So to save you the hassle of waiting, because it will run for some time, not long though, but this would be the end result. So after checking for, let me take you back a little bit. So if I can just drag this scroll bar. Okay, you can see it was the same thing. I did that, then it checked for the usernames, enumerated for the usernames. Then when you see here, it found the valid username for as Natalie. So here you have Natalie here as the valid username. Then now it continued. It now started to check for the passwords which go with the username Natalie. So that is when it came to this conclusion that the valid password for the username Natalie is skateboard here. So you can see the text that was down below there was use these credentials to log in and retrieve the flag. So you can now use this Natalie and this skateboard password to log in into this particular form here. So I'll first refresh this page. Okay, it will give me the CAPTCHA. Okay, no worries. Now let's just do that first. Okay, so I'll do Natalie, then I'll do the password was skateboard, right? So that should be SK then 8 then board. Don't save. Okay, we have this CAPTCHA, so it's 549 plus 60. That should be 6 or 9 if I'm not wrong. So let's do 6 or 9. Don't save. Okay, so it's again out giving us a CAPTCHA. So it's 746. We'll do that by 61, and that should be 45, 6 or 6, 5 or 6, I mean. So let's just do that. Okay, and as you can see, we simply find the flag. So let's copy this, get back here, and let's submit the flag. And as you can see, we've finished this room. So I'd say personally this room was very difficult for me because I had to go through all that, getting to discover that it needs a script and getting to the writings of the script and stuff. Though I never wrote the script from scratch, as I said earlier on, I did some research and found a script which looks to have solved it, and just did a few tweaks to it, which I again said I'll link it below in the video description. So you can just check it in the video description, it will be there. And you can also do a few modifications for yourself to suit out your needs. But yeah, that was the capture room, and I'll see you in the next video.